Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Context is King. I'm Rebecca Brayton, and with me as always is WatchMojo founder and CEO Ashkan Karbasfrooshan to discuss YouTube demonetizing videos about COVID-19.
Initially. Yeah, so at the onset, YouTube just demonetized everything around coronavirus. Look, I hate to say it, that was actually consistent because you could argue it's not brand safe. And they just, again, in their...
Yes, heaven forbid you actually educate anyone on anything.
Okay, playing devil's advocate, obviously I was going to get to that. I mean it in the context of confidence interval, margin of error.
I know, but we've had this argument over several different things.
Okay, but, so this is a good example that, well, for one, this is a health crisis. You need information from washing your hands, coughing like this, not touching people, social distancing, that it is unconscionable that they would do this because you're penalizing people that it costs them money to produce these videos, or that opportunity cost, they could produce something else. So it was wrong, obviously, from a actual case, but at least it was consistent with their initial policy that you could disagree with, and I think they recognize that. Now, the only reason why also I'm not totally throwing YouTube under the bus, because again, they're caught in a weird, delicate situation always, there's too many people that have different objectives, is the abuse. I think what they are also worried about, and this is the only reason why I'm not totally shitting on them on this point, is because YouTube is amazing. It's the greatest platform ever, but that creates a lot of bad actors, and there would be way too many people that would basically say, you're about to die, you click on their video, and you think you're going to get information, but you get hysterical, false news, fake news, you know, whatever. So I think YouTube just at the onset was like, what is something we could do?
But now, can't the community police that?
Well, the community can police that, but when you introduce, the community can police it, but if bad actors have an economic incentive, I think they will make money and do more of it, and by the time the community flags something, it's, 98% of the views have come, and you keep giving bad actors an economic incentive. I think YouTube wants to avoid that.
They don't get their money immediately, do
No, but they get it. YouTube would not go and say, oh, this video was misleading. They don't want to make that judgment call. It's not scalable. Whether you like it or not, people can't complain about YouTube not being manual and it being somewhat automated, because that's what gives them the opportunity to join a platform, but when it's convenient for them. And then if they don't like it, then they bash it. Look, you guys created this beast. You don't like Frankenstein, look in the mirror. Now, Susan Wojcicki, their CEO, came out and said that, look, we're going to reverse that. Some channels will be able to monetize, and we are going to expand. So, what do you think about that?
How did they decide which channels?
Okay, so fair enough. So I read what you wrote. I think in a nutshell, they're going to start off with channels that were either news, channel that were had an educational slant, and yeah, if basically there's like a prankster, historically, let's say as an extreme example, where they're not going to let that guy do it because it's like, oh look, I touched you, you got coronavirus.
Well, that's not manual.
No, that is manual. That's what I'm saying. Yes. So this is why it's an interesting topic. So I think what you are seeing, I mean, look, nobody's ever lived through coronavirus pandemic in real life in this era. So the Spanish flu, when that came around, that was not, YouTube was not around. And a little bit of a parenthesis, the Spanish flu was more of a broader European phenomenon, but because the King of Spain apparently had the flu, they called it the Spanish flu. And because the Spanish media press, however shaped that was in, was covering it, whereas in other European countries, it was more censored. And so we associate it as the Spanish flu the same way that some Republicans and some right-wing media are calling it still the Chinese coronavirus. But I got news for you, it ain't limited to the Chinese, so to speak. In any case, getting back on track. So
I saw a really good tweet, sorry,
which
was, I don't think people are going to stop eating pizza the way they stopped eating Chinese food.
That's a good point. Yeah, no, the world is very racist. Well, another one, I mean, look, we have a big community of WatchMojo fans in Italy. I'm not saying this at all to be disrespectful, but Italy in the last year, for a while, Italy gets accused of racism and prejudice. When Italians were being turned away from other countries, they were like, this is outrageous, this is shocking. And I was like, well, this is what's not good about judging people on, anyway. So it's a crazy time, and going back to YouTube. I think what YouTube is doing in the last few years is they're showing their gray hairs. They are maturing at a very quick rate. They realize this kind of nonsense that Silicon Valley had 20 years ago about we're just platforms, we're agnostic, we can't be responsible for the content. That is dying. That is dead, in fact. It's basically, they are no different than a publisher. Legally, that was like the greatest, not hoax, the greatest like fraud that like, oh, we're a publisher, we're a platform, it's different. No. Ultimately, you have some apparatus that is allowing people to communicate and disseminate and distribute content. You have to be responsible for it. So the main takeaway is YouTube is absolutely getting very manual. They are putting interpretation. We used to have a segment called Watch Mojo News. We could do a facts about coronavirus, myths about coronavirus, crazy. But then let's say we get more we are inform and entertain, so that's clearly informational. But let's say we want to actually get entertaining and say 10 crazy, outrageous things people have said about the coronavirus. Or like that scene where the lady is like, don't touch your face, and then she kind of like turns the page and like licks her. So then would YouTube, if they greenlist us as an informational component, do they also then automatically have to greenlist us if we are entertainment? So this is a whole Pandora's box of coronavirus in a bottle that is just fascinating to watch.
Affecting way more than I
Don't touch your face.
I'm sorry, I touched my face. There, it's my
All right.
face.
We're going to quarantine you, Rebecca.
I'm going to go wash my hands.
All right. It's crazy times, but it's just, there's so many layers, and I just really want to repeat, don't go into hysteria. Don't go hoarding toilet paper. Just use common sense and wash your hands. I was at a resort, and there was a dude that came out of the washroom, and I was going to smash his head, but I said, then I'm going to put me in a jail in this country, and I don't want that because I'll probably get coronavirus there, not here. But I'm just saying, like, come on, people, use some common sense. And no more handshakes. Do you think the handshakes are done with?
I am still used to 2 kisses because we're from Montreal and we do 2 kisses. And every time I do that outside of Montreal, people are like, what are you doing? But yeah.
I used to have that problem in New York because they just do like the kind of side, like, one hug or even just one. And I would do the 2 and I was always like, I'm from Montreal. I'm not a creep, although I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
anyway. I think meetings are done.
No, you know what? This is a whole other discussion. I think that is a big... Extremes are bad. People that are like, the future of work is remote from home, not really. And people that say you can't get any work done from home, that's also bullshit. I think what you're going to see is just a little bit of like, okay, some business travel is needless, some meetings are needless, but I assure you there's this serendipity aspect of creative brainstorming, problem solving that you just, what's that Ford Fairlane, Andrew Dice Clay line? Trying to get information out of this character is like masturbating with a cheese grater, slightly amusing but ultimately painful. That's what conference calls are, when you're 6 people on you have never heard that?
No? Conference calls.
Well, yes. Well, I'm just saying that like extremes are bad. Don't go losing your mind. What did we cover?
I am stumped. So let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you next time.